it wasn't this way. Okay. Listen and see if you agree with me when you hear Ryan Williams talk about the chemistry of this team.
I'm going to be honest, this is probably like one of the all-time highs in team chemistry that I've had in my life. You know, when you can, as a receiver, when you're one of your best friends is a defensive lineman, like, you know, a guy like James Smith that we feed off of each other, that's like my brother. I mean, when that's the case, I mean, it's a testament to the squad. Like, you know, we got quarterbacks hanging with long snappers, like, you know, people that's usually never around each other. I mean, it's just a brotherhood.
Now, just instinctively, and maybe I'm flawed, when you say this is the best team chemistry I've ever been around or I've ever been with, it makes me think, well, last year must have been less than that, obviously, because you just said that, or that may have been a problem. We always heard in the chat room, and I always sort of scuffed it off because Milroe and Booker were so nice to us every time we interviewed them. I just wonder about
a couple of things. I think it would resonate a little bit more if it was Justin Herbert, who's been playing football for a long time. Ryan Williams really is in his second year in a massive program. I think there is something to it, and I think it is the transition, again, from the greatest to ever do it and the way he did it to Kalen DeBoer. And this is why, like, I really have high hopes for this team, and I think they're going to be really, really good. And I do find it interesting, some people out there, Heather Dinich, saying this team is overrated at 8th, and we'll see how this thing plays out. But this is the best roster, however this goes, good or bad, the best roster Kalen DeBoer's ever had in his coaching career.
100%.
Ever.
I would agree with you on that.
And Kalen DeBoer, to me, has done a lot.
Do you think last year was his best one until this year? I mean, where did you put last year's roster?
Probably, yeah. And I think they underachieved, and I think there was a lot of reasons. And I think more so was the inconsistency of the quarterback position, and a lot of that's on Kalen DeBoer too. But I also think there were some internal issues that we all don't know about that we heard about. But it seems like those issues, at least right now on the surface, are kind of flushed out.
I would say top-end talent, maybe a little more in that previous Washington team. I mean, you had an NFL starter at quarterback.
Oh, I think your skill was better.
Yeah, your skill was better.
3 NFL receivers.
Yeah, your skill was better.
Your skill was better.
NFL running back.
But top to bottom, I would imagine last year's Alabama roster was better than the previous year's Washington roster, top to bottom. If you go all 100, or if you just want to do, the 22 ones or whatever you want to do.
You did that stat the other day, and it was how many, the percentage of blue chippers.
That's right.
Yeah, and I mean, it can't even be close if you went back and looked at that Washington team.
Here's the feedback on that, Jim. You're not alone in feeling this way. Zach, he's just saying the quiet part out loud. RTD4. I'm so glad these guys are speaking about the nonsense last year. Chris, I agree, Jim. Someone adds, I don't think Booker was one of the problems at all. Could be completely wrong, though. Daniel, I'm glad the Stank crew is gone. That's playoff link. Chris says, I think ego's got in the way, money, too. So a lot of people...
Bush in studio here, joined by my broadcast colleague, who may or may not have delayed the start of the show today. Maybe it was me.
It was me.
Are you going to own that?
I am.
Okay.
I am, and I'm not going to blame.
But there's someone we could blame if we wanted to.
Coach Grubb was almost 30 minutes late.
Okay. So Emily Grace McWhorter in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, covering the Alabama Crimson Tide. Make sure you're following the next round. That content from today already there on social media on the next round account. And Ryan Grubb has it in for the Pennant Grace. Maybe was it personal? You think?
I don't know. I mean, he is from the Pacific Northwest, so I don't know if he's like a Mariners fan, maybe, and he just doesn't like the Braves for some reason. I'll have to ask him.
Yeah, I any slight that is any way directed to me, I tend to take personal.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Me and Ryan Grubb got beef now.
Yeah.
In a big way.
Next week when I talk to him, I'll say real quick before I ask my question, Coach, wanted to let you know my Pennant Grace co-host, Ush Sisk, county commissioner of Shelby County, needs to have a word with you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
who knows how much county business got held up today
Because of Ryan Grubb. Yeah, that's right, Tyler.
He's setting Shelby County behind.
He is. And does he even care? Does he care about the people?
I don't think he does.
I really
he
like
does
Ryan
either.
Grubb. Like, let me be the first to say it.
Okay.
I really do like him. So, for what it's worth,
We're not going to agree on everything,
we're not.
so that's okay. Tyler, Lionel, John, Scott Forster behind the glass helping us out today. I'll start with this. You no longer look downtrodden and damp. You have sunglasses there, and I
Yeah.
see no precipitation around you. Have you dried out from Bristol?
Yes. I mean, guys, it was torrential downpour. It was cold even, and I know you're gonna say, "Ush."
Yeah.
You know, I know what you're gonna say. It was. I promise. It was cold.
Hey,
It dropped below 70.
It hits below 90. This gal's pulling out one of the thickest
Blankets.
blankets you've ever seen in your life. Like
Yeah.
a blanket you would buy in Antarctica. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's fuzzy and furry, and
Yeah.
it was a cooler weekend for sure,
It was.
weather-wise. Look, is this not just perfect for the 2025 Braves? Of course, on the big stage, and a lot of interest, nationally televised game. A lot of people tuning in just for curiosity's sake.
Right. Right.
Record Major League Baseball crowd, and it's a downpour.
Yeah.
That's one of the problems, but the problems don't stop there.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into what's even more, maybe even more alarming than the rain, and that is I get a text very early in this process
Yeah.
from Emily Grace McWhorter that says, "We're out of food." And I was like, what do you mean? Like the specific concession stand you're going to? She's like, "No, there's no food left in Bristol Motor Speedway."
Right. So we arrived, I would say traffic getting in was a nightmare. It was awful. We ended up parking on this random shoulder. Thank goodness we kept 2 tires on the pavement, because if not, we would have been stuck like a lot of other cars were. So we had to walk about a mile to the Coliseum. Now, what's interesting, and have you been to Bristol? Ush?
I
Did
have
we talk
not.
about-
No.
Okay. So obviously I hadn't either. And when I tell you guys, this racetrack is in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
I mean, there is nothing around it. So even if, and I'm getting ahead of myself, but there's nothing around it to even get food to bring in if you wanted to. But we walked the mile, like through a residential road. It's fine. You know, there's a lot of people, and the festivities were high. It was great energy. They had a little fan section outside the stadium that I took a few photos of. And the setup itself was executed with precision. It was really cool. The branding for both teams was excellent. Obviously, we don't like the hats and the checkered and the flames, but when it came to having both teams represented, I thought they did it really, really well. So again, we're walking in, and I want to point out too, guys, there were pregame concerts going on, and I'm pretty sure you could have gotten inside the Coliseum as early as, I want to say 4:00 probably.
Yeah.
I say that because that means that you have people in there. Let's just say, 4:00 until, midnight. And you're going to have to feed people.
Yeah.
We were out of food by, I got some reports by 5 p.m. And so what happened was, if there was food, it was popcorn, which that doesn't, do much when you need a meal. Hot dogs with no buns. Not
Oh.
sure who messed up the logistics on that one. Nachos with no cheese.
Oh.
And then I want to say the only other thing that was Domino's frozen pizzas.
Wow.
And you had people panic buying all at once that had little kids, like 10 pizzas at once, because they're telling you we're running out of food. We got the last Domino's pizza at Bristol. The guy handed it to my dad. I was like, "This is it. That's it." And so it was a little bit panic inducing, because I think people started buying more to make sure that they were ahead of things. There was some reports that beer ran out at some areas, so that's obviously not great. And then toilet paper, that was an issue as well.
This sounds like my apartment in college, Tyler. Hot dogs without no buns, Domino's
Peanut butter,
pizza.
no jelly.
Yeah. Did you offer to maybe make a Piggly Wiggly run and go get some buns for everyone, or no?
I did not.
Okay.
Another thing I do want to point out, and I have not heard anyone talking about this. So when we got there, there was not a lot of direction from the volunteers about how to get where.
Okay.
So think about this. When you have a normal stadium that you maybe haven't been to before, it's a little tricky trying to figure out where you need to be, right?
Absolutely.
And that is sports specific. You're at a baseball stadium, you know the general area, but it can still be difficult to find your way. Imagine that, except you're at a racetrack.
Yeah.
There's no defining characteristic to tell you where to go.
Yeah.
We wasted, I don't want to say wasted, but my parents, my brother and me, we spent probably good 45 minutes just trying to figure out where we were supposed to be.
Well, you could fit at least 2, if not more, Truist Parks inside of Bristol Motor Speedway.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this is a massive venue.
Massive. And that's what was so confusing. Now, a little inside baseball for you guys. From what I've heard, NASCAR tried to step in and help the MLB, and the MLB said no. So that would also explain a lot, because we're thinking, they host this amount of people when they have races here. Like, this isn't a shock to have this amount of people in one place. How are they dropping the ball so badly on getting people fed and getting people where they need to be? Again, another layer to this. Parking apparently was a nightmare, and people were waiting for hours just trying to leave, on top of the people that got stuck, that parked in different houses and near the river. We didn't have any problems with that, but again, we had to walk about a mile and a half. It was so chaotic, but what I will say, the fans that were there, whether it was the Reds or Braves country, excellent.
Okay.
No one was, in poor spirits from what I saw. Even when we were told to leave now, after they decided to restart the game, which was so silly to begin with, that they even started the game. Great energy. Like, it was still a fun event to be a part of. It was very disappointing, though. I hold the stance that they should have never started the game. I think that pregame was incredible. It was so cool. The flyover was amazing. The players going on the track in the cars and the trucks, that was awesome. And they should have said, okay, we got that through. We're not even going to do this, because it was so obvious that there was insane weather coming in.
Who's the commissioner of Major League Baseball?
Rob Manfred.
I'm going to blame Rob Manfred, because that's very easy to do, and there's a lot of things that we blame Rob Manfred for. So I'm going to blame Rob Manfred for, why would you not? First off, sounds, to not accept NASCAR's help, first off, sounds disrespectful to Dale Earnhardt and his legacy. I'm going to go ahead and say that, claim that one.
Yeah.
Secondly, they're the experts. Why would you not want to utilize them for all things related to the venue and parking and how you shuffle people in and out, and obviously probably with food and things like that. So the running out of food makes no sense. I don't get that. You have no control over weather. I do agree with you that it was foolish to try to start the game. You're looking at the same radar that we are.
Exactly.
It's not going to work out. Yeah.
Yeah. Because then, too, another thing that people were complaining about was they didn't have internet or Wi-Fi for fans to hook up to. And I think that is a bit of a luxury, but at the same time, it's like, it's expected luxury
that
now.
should no longer be a luxury. That's an expectation for the modern
sports fan.
Yes, because you're in person or at home, you're watching a sporting event, you're checking, if you're like me, you're on X, Twitter, and you're checking that as well to kind of keep up with what's going on in the game that you're getting from the social media standpoint. So that's just what people expect now. So that's a lot of misses on this. I do like, to your point, to play it at Bristol, Braves and Reds, those are the two best franchises you could have picked, in the sense of obviously not the two best teams, although Cincinnati is a good, not great team, but the fact that you have two fan bases that could drive there. And so, to have it there and the site as we're trying to get going, that looked good. Obviously, they make it up the next day. The attendance way down from that.
And I don't blame anyone. And we decided that we were going to go on and go back, because we were staying in Knoxville, actually. So we were farther back into Atlanta. And it's so disappointing because you mentioned at the start of this, Ush, this was something that Braves fans, yes. Reds fans, yes. But baseball fans, and like I said, sports fans in general, they were going to tune into this because it's something different.
Yeah.
And we both hold the standpoint that baseball has got to expand in a way that makes sense. They have got to be more appealing to larger audiences. They've got to appeal to the younger generations to get people bought back into the MLB. And that starts with, events like this. Also, we could go on and on about the TV and how we can barely watch games anymore. But this was an opportunity for the MLB to really make their mark, have a kind of foundational event going forward that involves a team that we cover and that we love with the Braves. And even, and I'm kind of getting to the weeds now, but like the fact that they let that first inning go on as long as it did with the field like it was, there's no draining that field. It was a massive puddle.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
Yeah.
And, that it's so avoidable to me. We're all looking at the same radars. You don't start the game. You get pregame done. You have all those elements, which was really, really cool. And then, you cut your losses and you say, we'll resume this tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it's a danger, to go too gimmicky because it becomes just a lot of gaga. But I think Major League Baseball has done a good job with having a highlight game in a different venue. Obviously, last year at Rickwood, which came across very, very well. Field of Dreams, very, very well. This, in theory, Bristol Motor Speedway, great idea. Problem was just in the execution. Obviously, no one can blame Major League Baseball for the rain, but you can blame them for a lot of the other things around that and how they handled that.
Well, even, them resuming the game for, golly, what was it, 10 minutes? Not even?
Yeah.
It did not make sense.
It didn't.
Even then to resume because within, 15 minutes, it was torrential downpouring all over again.
Yeah.
Well, I say this too, because of the rain, there was so much slipping taking place.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
I mean, it was like you're watching people and you are just like, oh my goodness, saying a prayer that, they're okay, because the amount of people that I saw go full, slope down flights of stairs was incredible.
Rain plus beer plus high places.
Yeah.
Equals potential disaster.
Tailbones were not safe.
Speaking of disasters, what's your favorite Tim McGraw Pitbull collab?
I'm
not the target demo on that. I get all that, but that was not enjoyable for me.
So we were there, and we heard a few of the Tim McGraw songs, they were great. I like Tim McGraw. The way that they had the stage, though, and this is so weird. Again, it felt like the more I talked, the more I'm just getting disappointed. You couldn't hear the sound very well at all. And we were in the outfield. Like, we're in probably, like, the best, most centered spot. And the echo was so bad. And all of a sudden, Pitbull comes out.
Yeah.
With dancers.
Yeah.
Wearing see-through tights.
Yeah.
It missed the mark. And I like Pitbull. I like this Sirius XM station. Pitbull's Globalization. I turn it on. Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah.
But it was so jarring. Because it just came out of nowhere and no one around us knew who Pitbull was. So that added a lot of confusion.
You had a lot of me's there. I wasn't there, but a lot of people like me were there.
Yes.
Like, I know who he is. I know he's very famous, but I don't know anything about him.
But in that context, Ush, you're not thinking, oh, yeah, that's Miami-based pop singer Pitbull.
Yeah.
You're thinking, who is this with these women that are twerking on stage and at a baseball game?
Yeah, and I've never been big on pregame, halftime, any type of like concert with my games. I've never really
Yeah.
had much interest in it. Obviously, the Super Bowl is its own thing, but I've lost interest in that as well. And some of these others, you started to see them some in other, NFL games and college football games. It personally not for me. Did think it was interesting. Tim McGraw, by the way, I don't know what it was for him, if it was toupees or what, but he ain't fighting that fight anymore. Saw a picture of Tim McGraw without the hat, and
Really?
yeah,
I did not realize that.
yeah. I mean, and so not a patient of Dr. B. And whatever he was doing, he ain't doing it anymore, and he's embraced the bald life.
Did you realize that his dad was
Tug
a
McGraw,
pitcher?
yeah, pitched
I
for the
didn't realize
Phillies.
that.
Yeah.
They played a little montage of his dad while he was performing. I thought that was cool, and fans seemed to like that. But then we transitioned into Pitbull and twerking, so
Yeah.
It was a little jarring, to say the least.
I think having Chipper Jones and Johnny Bench, that was a good touch.
Yep.
I wonder if he had been still with us and in good shape and mobile, that maybe would have been Hank Aaron. But
Yeah.
you could certainly make a case for the greatest living Atlanta Brave being Chipper Jones.
Yeah.
Absolutely make that case for Johnny Bench for Cincinnati. So I thought that was good. And then it was what it was, and then it was over, and then last night it was back to regular baseball. And so for the Atlanta Braves, that means losing. Actually, take 2 or 3 from Cincinnati. I say good Cincinnati team who's 59 and 54. They're in the mix for a wild card spot. Atlanta's 47 and 64. They're 3 and 7 out of their last 10. I don't expect those trends to change. The flip-flop has continued. Now Philadelphia leads the East. The Mets are a game and a half back of them. The opponents of Atlanta in the current series, the Milwaukee Braves, have the best record in Major League Baseball. This is a team that people have continued to write off as far as, hey, this little Milwaukee run of being a playoff team, this has run its course. Never more so than coming into this season and the early part of this season. Hey, it's the Cubs, and if anyone, the Cardinals will maybe challenge them. You could even see Cincinnati. You were seeing less and less Milwaukee, and here it is, Milwaukee 68 and 44. They're 7 and 3, inverse of the Braves in their last 10. 65 wins for the Cubs. I mean, that Central, and I mentioned Cincinnati, so that Central, the 4th place team is St. Louis, and they're 500. Obviously, you still have the Dodgers, the Padres, but it's going to be a fight there for those wild card spots, just a fight that Atlanta will not be in.
No.
I fully expected today's show to be our first post-Marcell Ozuna show, and it is not.
Too.
And
I did too.
a little around that, and I think from our viewers and listeners, they understand and know this. So I'm not saying anything that's not.
Understood.
They're smarter
already.
than I am. Anthopoulos wisely wasn't going to just give someone up just to do it. And obviously they weren't getting offered very much at all. And so that's why Raciel Iglesias, Pierce Johnson, Marcell Ozuna stayed with the team. And I agree with that. Why would you give someone up for nothing, basically, for nothing that fits into your plans that's going to help you? And I think that's obvious. That's what they were going to get. I don't think, if you look at trade deadlines, this was not some big frenzy around Major League Baseball. This was a pretty quiet trade deadline.
It was pretty quiet, and I think even with that being said, though, Ush, I think a lot of Braves fans expected more, expected at least something.
I think we all expected it, but I expected there to be more interest, especially with Marcell playing well lately.
Right. And so, me and Reed Taylor, we were talking about it last night at poker, actually. And the first thing he said, our former Dodgers correspondent, was about the Brewers. Like, they are solid. They are moving in the right direction. But then it was, I can't believe that, Iglesias is still there. Like, what's the deal? And I'm like, I agree with you. And I don't know. There might be something that we don't know, but it just seems like I almost expected this, that we would be having this conversation, that we didn't do enough, but I didn't really think that we would be saying we didn't do anything.
Yeah. It's just kind of the way it went this year. It's a unique year. It was a bad year, a disappointing year.
Yep.
But, again, eternal optimist, silver lining. It's going to be fun to see, and we have a whole off season to be thinking of how the Braves retool, how they revamp their lineup. We're pretty certain we're going to have a new manager at the helm. We could have a different staff in that. Yeah. So you're going to have a new manager, but you could have different hitting coach, position coaches, whatever. We don't know.
We don't know, but I think that makes me excited because for us, we are going to have so much more to talk about this offseason, in my opinion, because of what you just said, than last season with the Pennant Grace, because we're going to get to kind of follow, and I am not calling this a rebuild. This is not a rebuild. This is a revamp,
yes,
if you will.
I agree.
Different coaching staff, different hitting coach, position coaches. Like, it's going to be something that I feel like is going to be a good thing, and I'm excited to see it. I think this is also our eternal optimism, thinking we have something to look forward to because it's not the postseason. But it's going to be very telling. I think we're going to learn a lot about Alex Anthopoulos, and I am betting that we will be impressed by those decisions more so than we may be expecting right now.
Yeah, you're going to – the lineup, the roster, is going to be significant changes. Last offseason was an offseason that they should – have made some moves. This offseason is an offseason where they will have to make moves.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely
Agreed.
have to. And so I expect a big change in the bullpen, some changes within just pitching in general, but also in that lineup. There will be some players, and I don't just mean people who are up and down on the roster, but starters that likely won't be there. So I don't know how different it looks. I think, we've talked about this so many times. Matt Olson, Austin Riley, really your outfield is probably going to stay the same. Drake Baldwin, I think Sean Murphy, I don't know. But there's so many what ifs. It's really hard to other than like Ronald Acuna Jr., Matt Olson, Austin Riley, Drake Baldwin, you don't want to go venture too far out because you just never know what can happen in an off season. Game 2 tonight, Brewers and Braves, 6:15 Central Standard Time. We will be back on Thursday, maybe regular time, and maybe Ryan Grubb joining us. I'm throwing that out there now that we may have Alabama coach Ryan Grubb joining the broadcast Thursday.
I'm not even going to be in Tuscaloosa on
Thursday.
But
it could happen, and it's possible.
Okay, I hope this doesn't get sent to him. I like him, but I don't think he wants to join our Braves show. Maybe he does. He might. I haven't asked him. Maybe he's a Braves fan.
He wears sweatshirts in 95-degree heat.
That's Coach Womack, too.
But didn't Coach Grubb wear a sweatshirt, too?
He had a sleeveless hoodie. Coach Womack is probably a Braves fan. I feel like
I think he is, too.
Yeah, Braves country, South Alabama. Ryan Grubb, I don't think is a Braves fan. I'm going to say...
You said Mariners, maybe.
Mariners, maybe. Kalen DeBoer, maybe. He's also a Midwest guy. Sioux Falls.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm like in the way of these poor people.
That's okay. We don't want to mess up any poor people there. Our show, as always, is brought to you by Roback. I was out of town this past weekend, and you better believe that my suitcase was packed with Roback. Go to roback.com. and enter code PG20 on your first order. It's going to save you 20% off your entire order. I did stand out a little bit. Dollywood, not so much a Roback crowd, more of an Affliction crowd. I don't know if those shirts are still made, but they're alive and well on the streets of Dollywood.
And Six Flags over Georgia.
And I think it's a theme park thing, Tyler, maybe. Ill-fitting Affliction shirts. I've never felt cleaner or thinner than having been in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. But we like to dress our best, and that's why we shop Roback. Roback.com, code PG20. EG will be back on Thursday. And who knows by that time what we'll we have to be creative in these latter part of the season shows. We no longer have the playoffs to talk about so much. And so we're going to get pretty creative on the rest of the way through. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes. I'm like, I don't even want to hang up because I'm having so much fun today.
Aren't you guys having so much fun? See, you can have fun even when you lose. We try to still collect W's here on the Pennant Grace. So enjoy T-Town, safe travels home in Braves country. We'll be back at you Thursday, 12:15. We'll see you then.